So can I ask you a little bit about your interests?
Yeah, I've done biology for A-levels, and I was interested in neurological diseases. Yeah, so that's what I was interested in.
Have you done anything to further those interests?
I've been at a club at our school that we have, and they talk about shares scientific research and things like that.
Have you been a presenter?
I haven't presented yet, no.
What was the favourite thing you heard about?
The last talk they gave was about a disease called it was Huntington's disease, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite interesting, yeah.
What did you find interesting?
I found the effect on the person really interesting. They said that it's the man presenting said it was one of those diseases where it can get like worse and worse as it gets through the generations, and I thought that was quite interesting, but yeah, don't really know why that happened.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about genetics today. So I thought we'd start by drawing some Mendel squares.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so about inheritance.
Okay.
So if you could draw a Mendel square for a dominant condition. Could you name a dominant condition and draw the square for it?
Dominant condition. Would something, I don't know, like diabetes maybe? Certain types of diabetes be dominant conditions?
Why don't we think about something like eye color?
Okay.
That's a
So
condition.
you'd like me to draw a Mendel square. Right, okay. So I suppose one would be the mother, one would be the father, and one you'd have to have, let's say they both had one allele, which was the healthy allele, and one which was the diseased one, I think. And yeah, if the father had the same, then
So why don't you think about eye color?
okay. I haven't done much about eye colour, but
So brown and blue eyes.
okay.
So
Yeah. So if one was okay. So if sorry. So if the mother had brown eyes, if big A was brown eyes, and then little a was blue eyes, and let's say brown was like the stronger one, so like the more the dominant, I think, one, and if it was the same for the father, so they both had brown eyes, because that would be the more dominant one, then I suppose you could have that, so that would mean that one of the children would have brown eyes. This child would also have brown eyes. Yeah, so with this child. So, but if if blue's like the weaker allele, then because there's no big A's here, then that would mean that would be blue, I think.
very good, very good. So I want to use this Mendel square now to talk about a different condition,
Okay.
Colored blindness.
Okay, I haven't really done much about that, I have to admit.
Well, it'll be all new then.
Okay.
So have you heard of colour blindness? Do you know anything about it?
No, not really. Sorry.
Do you know about the difference in male and female colour blindness?
One sex gets it more than the other?
You're right. Men are much more likely to have colour blindness. Can you propose some reasons why that might be?
Is it if they're more likely to get it if maybe during development of a male fetus inside a
So why don't we think about the difference between males and females genetically? Do you know what the difference is?
In terms of sort of characteristics of men and
just if you think about the genes.
So men have an X and a Y chromosome, and women have two X chromosomes.
So if we're seeing gender differences in conditions, can you suggest a reason why that might be?
Is there something to do maybe with the X chromosome? Women have twice as much, but then, it might be twice as likely to get it if they've got two times the number of X chromosomes.
Yes, so you're right, it is to do with these X and Y chromosomes.
Okay.
So colour blindness is on the X chromosome.
Okay.
Yeah, so do you think it's a dominant or a recessive condition if females are less likely to be colourblind and it's on the X chromosome?
Females sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Yeah, that's alright, I'll say it again. So if females are less likely to be colourblind,
okay,
and we know that colour blindness, the fault, is on the X chromosome, is this gene for colour blindness dominant or recessive?
So you said that women have two X chromosomes and men only have an X and Y. So, and you said women are less likely to get it. I'm not sure. Perhaps be recessive, maybe?
You're exactly right, so it's recessive. So women can have it, and then they have another X chromosome that can compensate.
Okay.
Whereas men only have one X chromosome, so nothing can compensate if there's a problem with their colour vision genes.
Right, okay.
But it's not like Huntington's, where if you have this problem, you automatically are colourblind.
Okay.
So why don't we think about how many men and how many women we expect to be colourblind. So for men, 5% of men are colourblind. So how many percent of women would you expect to be colourblind?
Would it be maybe half as many, because they've got two times as many X chromosomes.
So that's a good start, but why don't we think about it more from this Mendel square perspective we were talking about before? Maybe inheritance. Okay.
Do you want me to draw another square?
Yeah, you could draw another square.
Okay. Sorry, was it, you said 5%, did you? Okay. So, if women would have 2 X's, X and Y, so obviously
to say what you're thinking?
I was thinking, so you said that 5% is the frequency of the colour blindness allele. So I was thinking if that's 5% and it's 5% there, then 5% over there. So maybe 25% maybe?
It has to be a smaller.
Right, yeah, sorry. So 5%. So 5% of 5%?
Yeah, 5% of 5%.
So that is 120 times 120. Oh, sorry, so 1 over 400. But that's if, they both have the allele.
Yeah, so you'd expect about 1 over 400. But we actually see a lot less than that.
Right. Okay.
So, think about it. Do you know anything about how colour vision works?
I'm sorry, no, I don't.
You heard rods and cones?
No.
So, in colour vision, that's alright, in colour vision, in order to see colour, humans have 3 types of cones. So, red, green, and blue cones. And they're each coded by their own gene. So, do you know anything about how genes are expressed physically?
So, genes are nucleus. And so they make proteins. And so they make proteins, and then proteins do jobs in the cell.
So in this case you have 3 genes, so how many different kinds of proteins do you think there are?
3 genes. That'd be 3 types of proteins?
Yeah, 3 different proteins. So one for the red, the green, and the blue.
Okay.
So what we'll do is, that's our proteins there. And they each make their own colour. So this is the wavelength.
Okay.
And that's the colour section. So we have short, medium, long, wavelength light. Yeah. Red, green, blue.
Okay.
So, what ways do you think this could be altered to give someone red-green colour blindness?
So they can't see red-green.
Can't see the difference between red and green.
I'm not sure, sorry, I haven't done this before.
Do you have any ideas?
If maybe if something like you moved one of these across, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So you could move these so red and green overlap.
Okay.
Or you could delete one, so you could have one gene not work at all.
Okay.
So for men, when that happens, they become colorblind. So what difference do you think there is in women that might lead them to not become colorblind, even when both X chromosomes have faulty color genes?
So both, the woman has two bad genes, and they both are faulty, but that's not as bad as the man having one. Not really sure. I thought it would have been worse if there are two faulty genes and the man only has one. But
so if we think about what we were just talking about, what the faulty genes were doing in the men, yeah, we talked about how they could shift these frequencies on top of each other.
Okay.
Or how one could be deleted.
Right. So if you had a woman with two deletions, that wouldn't really work, would it? Yeah, I'm not sure, sorry.
So if we shift this, so say this one went that way, so it's laying on top, so both were there and there was nothing in between.
Okay.
Yeah, you end up with some colour blindness.
Okay.
But what if we had it shifting the other direction? A different mutation that meant that instead the long went on top of the medium. So imagine a woman had both of those. What would this spectrum look like?
So the long is moved onto the medium. So you'd have. Let's see. So you'd have the short one there that you've drawn. And you have the medium. And then you said that the long one moves on top of the medium one. So that's the long one there as well. So,
and the other chromosome? That's chromosome 1, has that problem.
And the other chromosome has a problem as well. And the other chromosome, there was no medium, was there? So you cross out medium one. So then you just have a short one and a long one, maybe?
Well, so the first chromosome put medium and long on top of each other.
Right.
And the second chromosome put medium on top of long.
Right.
Yeah.
So, alright, so then you had something here. So same thing here.
So how much of this spectrum can this person see?
They could see that, the short wavelength. They can still see these two, can't they? 'Cause they're both still there.
So they had two problems here, but how much difference did that make for their colour vision?
It looks the same.
Yeah, it looks the same.
Okay.
So here's a woman who had two faulty chromosomes and yet has perfectly fine colour vision.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so that's all for us. So thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Right, so how do you think that went?
That was a lot, obviously, harder than before because I was very unfamiliar with some of these concepts that we were discussing, so it's a lot harder for me to know where we were trying to go with this. And with that in the back of my mind, I found it quite hard to answer the questions, which kind of led to me kind of being quiet, trying to think a lot, but it felt quite stuttered.
Yeah, so I think the worst things here where you were not speaking what you were saying, so there's no way for me as the interviewer to guide you a lot of the time because I couldn't tell what you were thinking. So without that, I was perfectly willing to give clues, but when I didn't know what was even happening in your mind, it was really hard and it made it that everything went so much slower, so you went down the wrong track.
Okay.
And then I didn't know that you were doing that, and then you ended up bringing wrong conclusions, and it took up all of our time. So in the end, we managed to get somewhere, but there wasn't a lot of original thought from you, and you weren't showing a lot of problem-solving skills. On the other hand, you still, even though this was not a very strong interview, there were some strong points, which was you kept with it, and we managed to get to the conclusion. And you did take some prompting. So here, when I asked you to do blue and brown, then you did take that prompt. But it would have been better if you could come up with an appropriate example on your own.
Right.
And if you could have progressed more quickly through this, and maybe tried to draw some links between what we had done in the past and how you might be able to apply that to the next bit.